Solution Saki Nuher. Okay. Okay, gewaltig. So yesterday we learned about Taglachas Tumah. First of all, we learned in 9 Kalvachimers about the 3 prohibitions that a Nazir has, Taglachas, Tumah, and Yayin. And then we learned about the order a little bit of the Taglachas of Tumah. If somebody came Tameh, he has to do Taglachas and he has to do a carbon. So the Gemara discusses that. Now, as an Agav, the Gemara gets into, and the Gemara brings a machlokes between Reb Tarfon and Rebbe Kiva, if he was Gilach Bishmini, if he has to wait 1 extra day to bring his Kabbalas, or if he can bring them on the same day, because Rebbe Kiva says that it's the Zman, it's not the Kabbalas. It's the Zman, not the Geluach, that triggers the Tahira by the Nazir. Okay, then we have a very interesting shaila over here. So we'll start from Abaye. We're getting into a new shaila about a full yom of Azov, what his status is. Azov is somebody who saw a re'iyah. If he sees a re'iyah twice, he has to keep Shiva Nakim. If he sees a 3rd time, in addition to the Shiva Nakim, he also has to bring a carbon on day 8. And Abaya said, Ashkechinu l'chavri du Rav Nosson bar Hoshia. I saw the Chavraya of Nosson bar Hoshia. The Yasin the Ka'omrin says Ubal of Hashem al Pesach oil moyed unesonim alakoin. So in the parasha of Zov, the Torah says, V'chiyom, I'm sorry, V'chiyut hazov mizoyvay, V'safal l'shiva sham l'tarasa. Those are the Shiva Nikim. V'chibes begad barachas b'sar b'mayim chayim v'taher. And then it says V'yom mashvini yigachal shtei storim ma'shnei b'nayayna. And only then, on the day 8, can he be bal l'fnei Hashem el Pesach oil moyed unesonim alakoin. So they make the following diak from this pasuk. They make the following diak. Emosai huba. At what point is a zov tahor from his tumah that he's now allowed to come into the machna aliyah? Bizman shehu toval va'asahar of shemesh. If he toveled on day 7 and then the sun set on day 7, then he could. And the tziyonim stick in tovel va'asahar of shemesh in loy tovel va'asahar of shemesh loy. So once again, there's 3 machnas. There's the machna Shechina, which is considered the Ezra Yisrael, and in. Then you have the machna Leviyah, which is from the Ezra Noshim and all of Harabayas. And then you have the machna Yisrael. So the machna Shechina is the Azara and the Heichal, and the machna Leviyah is Harabayas. The machna Yisrael is all of Yerushalayim. A mitzvah is nishtalach mishalosh machnos. He cannot even be in Yerushalayim in Machne Yisrael. Azov is shalach mishtei machnos. He's not allowed to be on Harabayis, but he is allowed to be in Machne Yisrael. And then you have a Tamim who's even allowed to be in. We'll soon see. Even in Machne Shechina, he's allowed to be a Tamim. So let's take a step back. You have the Zov. The Zov was prohibited from being in Harabayis. Where is he allowed to come El Pesach Hayel Moed? If you're coming to El Pesach Hayel Moed, we're assuming you're by the door between the Ezra's Noshim and the Ezra's Kahanim. At what point can a Zov be there? So they darshan, where are you able to be El Pesach Hayel Moed is Bizman Shu Tov Vos Harav Shemesh. When he toiled and he made Harav Shemesh. In loy tov b'vas harav shemesh loy, which means a zov even after he toivels, and he's now a full yom of a zov because he's already toivelled. He's done everything he has to do, except he has to wait till the end of the day. He's still prohibited from being in the machne leviyah. He's still prohibited from being on halabayis. Al makashav till yom shalzov kizov dami, and it's a din of tumah. Now, this pasuk happens to be speaking about a Zov who had 3 re'iyas because he's bringing a korban. But these Tanoim wanted to say, or this Chavraya wanted to say, that even if he was a Zov who saw shtei re'iyas, where he's not going to have a chiyuv to bring a korban, but his level of tumah and his halachas of tumah are identical as the Zov who saw 3 re'iyas, the only difference is that he doesn't have to bring a korban. So therefore, a tful yoim of a Zov, even of 2 re'iyas, would also be prohibited from coming onto Harabayis. That is what they said. And I told them that they're absolutely wrong. Because if that's how they're going to dash in the pasuk, that when it says Hashem Pesach Moed, it's teaching you that up until that moment they were not allowed to come into the Machne Leviyah, then you're going to have a problem by Nazir Tomei. A Nazir Tomei, there's nothing special about the Tumah of a Nazir Tomei, different than any other person who's Tomei because he touched the mace. And what does it say during the Tahira process of a Nazir Tomei? Dichsiv, and let's see the pasuk inside where we can read it properly. The Chiyamus Mace Olav, the Pesach Pisah, Vitimi Rosh Nizrei, B'yayim Tarasai, B'yayim Ashvil Lachenu, and then the B'yayim Hashemini Yavish Teisar, Moshnei B'nei Yoina, Elakon El Pesach El Moed. So it has a very similar expression by the Tahira of a Nazir Tomei as it has by the Parsha of Zov. And what are you going to say over there? It says Elakon El Pesach El Moed, Eimet Hayubah B'zman Shetav Avos Harav Shemesh. So you're going to say that before Harav Shemesh, he wouldn't be able to, the Nazir wouldn't be able to come to the Pesach HaMoed. What tumah does this Nazir have? He has regular tumas mace. So let's see. Shari Nikner, Heicha Kaiman. Where are the Shari Nikner? They're B'Shari Leviyah. They're considered to be in the Machne Leviyah. V'Tanya, and we learned in the Brisa, Tamei Mace, Mutei Lechanesh B'Machne Leviyah. A Tamei Mace is allowed to be he's allowed to be in Harabayis. V'loi Tamei Mace B'Vad. Never mind someone who's Tamei because he touched a mace is allowed to be on Harabayis. Elafilu Mace Atzmai. Even a mace is allowed to be on Harabayis. Shenemar V'Yigach Moshe is Atzmas Yosef Imoy. My Imoy B'Mechitzasai Imoy B'Machne Leviyah. So I was mistaken. Not B'Machne Shechina. You see that a mace, even a mace itself, is allowed to be in Machne Leviyah. So surely someone who's a Tamei mace. So how could you say from this lashon of Ubal Pesach El Moed is telling you that Machmas Tumah you wouldn't be able to be there until you had Harav Shemesh? Clearly, by the case of the Tyrus had Nazir Tomei, you can't learn that way because clearly the Nazir Tomei was always allowed to be in the Machne Leviyah, even when he was Tomei fully with the Tumas mace. So if you can't darshan it that way here, you can't darshan it that way over there, and therefore you'll just have to say the pasuk is trying to tell you when you normally bring the carbon, which are the 8th day. But the pasuk is not teaching you anything about Tumah. Ella Amar Abaye, I will tell you how you could read into this pasuk. Tvul Yom Shel Zov. Listen carefully, I'm changing what I said yesterday, because I figured it out. Tvul Yom Shel Zov, Kizov Dami. The Tvul Yom of Zov is a Lav Kizov Dami, and Tosfos changes the gears over here. Tvul Yom Shel Zov is a Lav Kizov Dami. The Tvul Yom of Zov is not like the Zov. And in fact, the Tfil Yom Avazov is allowed to come in to the Machne Leviyah. Nevertheless, even the Mechusar Kapara loyal. But if he's Mechusar Kapara, who's loyal? In other words, the Tfil Yom itself, someone who's just a Tfil Yom, for instance, a Zav who saw 2 Re'iyas, all he is a Tfil Yom. He's not a Mechusar Kapara because he doesn't have to bring any Karbanis. He is in fact allowed in the Machne Leviyah. The Iba Machne Leviyah Koi. If he's in the Machne Leviyah, Amai Kakarile Oil Moed, it says he comes al Pesach Oil Moed. Why would the Torah refer Pesach Oil Moed means to the opening of the Heichal? If you're by the opening of the Heichal, you're in the Machne Shechina, you're in the Azara. So why would the Torah refer to somebody who's in the Machne Leviyah as if he's standing inside the Azara? Remember to tell you, Ma Hasam Mechusa Kapar Lo Ayil. Just like a Mechusar Kapara is not allowed in the Azara, in the Machne Shechina, he's not allowed. Af leMachne Leviyah nami Mechusar Kapara lo ayo. So too, a Mechusar Kapara who's also a Tfil Yom, and that's the key word here the Rosh says. A Mechusar Kapara who's also a Tfil Yom may not be in the Machne Leviyah. So let's stop a second. So where was Abaye arguing on the Chavraya? The Chavraya said that al Tumah, a Tfil Yom of Azov, is not allowed on Harabayis. Abaye said you don't have a raya from the pasuk to learn like that. What you could learn is this fellow who is a Tfil Yom, but he also has to bring a carbon. He is not allowed in the Machne Leviyah because there's 2 factors working against him. Sai he's a Mechusar Kapara, and Sai he's a Tfil Yom. Once he's Ois Tfil Yom, which means on the morning of the 8th day, then he's only a mechusar kapara, and surely then he's allowed to come in, because how else is he going to bring his karbanos? We know into the Machne Leviyah. That's correct. And how do you know that a Tvul Yoim cannot be in the Machne Shechina? The Tanya, it says Tameh oy tumaseboy to Tameh l'Rabbis Tvul Yoim oy tumaseboy l'Rabbis mechusar kapara, who is not allowed to be in the Machne Shechina in the Ezras Yisrael itself. Gewaltig. Now we have a very easy Mishnah. Yes.
Yosy, how could they bring a raya from the Atzmas Yosef when Moshe took the Atzmas Yosef? Was back in Mitzrayim. There were no division of Machnos yet. As a matter of fact, there was no division of Machnos until Har Sinai.
Well, I'm not sure what Imoy b'mechitzasai means. So there were the three machanas. There were the machanas in the Midbar. There were machanas as well, were there not?
But this pasuk was, when this pasuk was said, it was
as
in
they're leaving
Mitzrayim.
But it stuck with them all the way through the Midbar.
It went wherever he went. The Atzmas Yosef went.
That's what it seems so.
That's
pretty. Well, somehow he brought
not
them to Shechem.
Mistaber. What?
Well, didn't he bring them to Shechem?
Ultimately, he brought them to Shechem, but you can't.
They traveled
wherever Moshe went, the Atzmas Yosef followed him.
He kept them in his garage.
Okay, that's
in Machne Leviyah. He kept it on the. I assume he kept it on his premises.
I don't know where he kept it, but you can't. We don't know that for sure. It's just not probable that you keep a mace hanging around you wherever you go.
Where do you think he stored it?
Well, outside of all three machnas, actually, or at the periphery of maybe the Machne Leviyah, but that it hung around wherever he went.
Imagine he's driving his friend to the airport, and his friend opens the trunk to get a suitcase. It's his bones there. What are those bones? What are those bones? I keep them there. Don't worry about it. My wife had a friend whose father owned a mortuary, so sometimes he would take her to school in the hearse. Don't worry about it. It's my father's car.
Anyway, I would speculate that it was kept in, where Menashe and Ephraim were held there. Well, all that proves is that he's the person who had the sense and wherewithal to take the Atzmas Yosef where nobody else did. But once he took it, probably his progeny had it with them wherever they went. As a matter of fact, every Shevet, according to the Medrash,
Yosef's progeny would have had it. You mean?
Yeah, every Shevet took the Atzmos of their
father.
Of Reuben, Shimon, Levi. They took them.
You want
Who caught the Kshadim possible? Okay, gewaltig. Okay, let's see the more back there. Taglachas hatahira. What is the order of operation for a Nazir who successfully completes his term? How does he do it? Ketzad. How you may be gibel behemoth. So first of all, we know he had to bring 3 behemoths, chatos, oila, and shlam. Now we know that after this rika of one of the karbanos, he would shave his head, and he would put the hair under a pot where the carbon is cooking. We'll see soon how that was done and where it was done. However, the question is, the logic would be is that the first carbon that was brought would be the carbon where the Nazir cut his hair. So it says maybe Gimel B'Hem Ischat Ash Eilu Shlamim v'Shoichet As Hashlamim U'Megalach Aleim Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said that the geluch he made after the Shchitas Hashlamim. They asked, Tosfos points out, then why didn't Rabbi Yehuda say when he listed off the karbonos, he should have said Shlamim Chatas Oila, because it seems like he learned that Shlamim was the first carbon. Toysus tells us the Mistaber that they did the Giluach after the first carbon. So the carbon that they made the Giluach on would have been makrived first. Rabbi Elazar Omer, Lo haya megaleach ela ala chatos, is the chatos that he was megaleach on first, and then it stims the order of the karbanos in the Mishnah. Shachatos koidemes b'chol mokan. Generally, the chatos is always brought first. However, everybody agrees, gilach al acha al echad mishloshton yotza. Whichever one you made giluach on, b'di'eved, of course, that would be a good giluach, and it would be matter the nazir to drink wine. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer, what happens if Hevi Gimel Behemais V'loy Pirish? He brought 3 animals to the kohen, and he didn't tell the kohen which should be the chatos, which should be the shlomim, and which should be the oila. So haruri lachatos tikar of chatos, laoila tikar of oila, l'shlomim tikar of shlomim. The mean, the type of animal that he brought, whichever one is royu for a specific carbon, should be designated for that carbon. Tanu Rabbanan, the gilach hanazir pesach oil moed. The nazir should cut a seir at the door of the oil moed. Literally, that would mean, like with the mizbeach behind him, standing right in front of the heichal, he's going to be taking a haircut. Imagine a guy sets up a haircut chair with a barber pole, and he starts giving a haircut right in front of the mizbeach. So the Gemara teaches us that it doesn't mean that's where you do the galuach. What it means is you should cut your hair with the carbon that also has an expression of Pesach oil moed when the Torah talks about that particular carbon. And which carbon is that? So Pesach oil moed is not to be taken literally, that you shave your head right in front of the hechel. Rather, we just use Pesach oil moed to show us which carbon it's supposed to be connected to, the carbon that the Torah uses Pesach oil moed when the Torah talks about that carbon. Why should you take away the pasuk shot of the pasuk and make a drasha? The Torah says Pesach oil moed. Maybe that's the actual location where it should be done. So it's not there covered for someone to set up a barber pole in a barber station right in front of the heichal. You don't need logic, you don't need a svara. We know the Torah tells us you have to treat the Mizbeach and the Beis HaMikdash with respect. Why is one not allowed to go up with stairs? It has to be a ramp to go up to Mizbeach. Because when you're climbing stairs, it makes the area underneath your skirt somewhat visible. So it's a bezoyin, and therefore you see you're not allowed to be mevasa the kevish or the Mizbeach when you're climbing it up. Kavachomer l'derech bezoyin. Surely doing a haircut is not appropriate. Yeah, but it's still not an appropriate thing. It's not like an airport. The Beis HaMikdash is not an airport. I hear. Well, one is very inadvertent, and it's not really, I'm covering anything. People go upstairs all the time. You don't find that stairs have been outlawed in shuls, right? Stairs are very reasonable things, but you see such a high level of concern. Now, the Gra takes all this next shtickle out. Nuscha Achvina b'Medrash b'Pashas Nosoi Daf Reish Mem Beis. I don't know which print this is. The Gilach HaNazir. The article says definitely not our print. The Gilach HaNazir. Rabbi Yosy Omer b'Shlomo HaKasav V'Daber Eina Yala. So the same thing as Hakamar. If Kach Amar Torah leSala Kavachomer LeDavar Shlo Yigalech Pesach LeMoed Madach. You shouldn't go upstairs. Kolshkin. You shouldn't take a haircut right in front of the Echel. Elo b'Shlomo HaKasav V'Daber. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer Eina Tzarech. I don't need that. I have a different pasuk. Kabrayo Omer. He has to take the hair of his naziris, and he immediately put it into the fire. Meaning, he's cutting his hair right there by the fire. Where is the nazir's hair cut, and where do they cook the shlomim? It's in the lishkas nazirim, which is after azara. It's not right in front of the heichel. So, since you have to be able to put your hair right into the fire, if you took your haircut right in front of the heichel, you won't be near where the thing was cooking. So you're showing the masks. I don't understand. So then, who said you cook it over there? Cook it over here. So the teretz is they bring down, since we know the halacha is the nazir technically can cut his hair anywhere in Yerushalayim, So therefore, it has to be that anywhere in Yerushalayim is where he should be able to put his hair. She should be able to. Vivaldi can cook. Vivaldi can cook the shlomim anywhere in Yerushalayim. Therefore, we have to say that he should be able to cut his hair anywhere as well, wherever he's cooking, which is not necessarily in front of the hechel. Ikadamri Amar Bitok Amar B'Shlomim Akasav V'Daber Atam B'Shlomim Akasav V'Daber Ayinei LePesach Oyel Moed Mamish Tamad Loymar V'Lokach Esa'ar Rosh Nizroi Mimokim Shayim Avashel Shom Hayim Megaleich. The same svara. Abachan Loymim Shor Beliezer V'Gilach HaNazir Pesach Oyel Moed Kolz Man She'ein Pesach Oyel Moed Pesuach Ein Megaleich. So Rabbi Eliezer is arguing, and he holds maybe you don't necessarily have to make your giluach by the shlomim, right? He might hold you make the giluach with the korban chatos, but he's learning Pesach Hayel Moed is you can only make your giluach when the Pesach Hayel Moed is open. I guess during the day you cannot make your giluach at night. So he has a completely different drush. Yeah, but he might hold it by chatos, right? Maybe he holds the chatos as the first part. What you learn from there is that a woman does not make giluach. The mitzvah giluach is only on a man. Why? Because it could be the perchek when a woman will come into the base of mikdash and uncover her hair. Therefore, the woman doesn't have to cut her hair off if she's a nazira being mitayr. Amar Loi, if we're so concerned about a woman uncovering her hair in the base of mikdash, by a saita we also uncover her hair. How come we're not worried over there? Hashem Yiskarabah, Perchei Kahuna. Yechsiba Bamidal Afnei Hashem, V'loi Chashidon Shema Yiskarabah Perchei Kahuna. Amar Lahen, the circumstances are very different. Zuka Chelas Upakesas. This woman who's a nazira, who's being mitayr herself, she's coming in dressed to the T's. It's her big yomtiv, so she's coming in dressed. That and she has her makeup on. That's where if you uncover her hair, Shemi Yisgarba Pechuna. Zu the site that we're trying to make her ugly. She's not dressed to the T's. Forget we want to make her look ugly. So there won't be a problem of Gurias on her. What? But they're still around, I guess. They're still around. The problem is, if they see her hair uncovered, they'll think she's a soita, and then they'll right away become nazidim, and then it'll be a vicious cycle. It won't stop. So he cut his hair off. He took his hair. What does he do with his hair? He puts it underneath the pot to burn in the fire that's cooking the pot with the basar shlam. What if he didn't cut his hair in the base of mikdash? What if he cut his hair somewhere else? Then he would not put his hair underneath the pot. He would just bury it. This is the halacha if someone successfully completed his naziris and he's doing his taglachas to finish his naziris. But if someone is doing his taglachas after he became tamei in middle of his naziris, there the pasuk doesn't say anything about that taglachas, that he had to take his hair and put it under a pot. That hair you just bury. No, even a nazir tamei also puts his hair tachas dud. No, it's a berry. Ah, gewaltig. So there's three. So there's actually three shitas. There's a shita that side taglachas tahira and side taglachas tatuma. You actually put tachas adod if it's there. If it's there, there's also a shita that if it's that side taglachas tatuma, side taglachas tahira, if you're there, you put it in there. Not if you're not. The mayor says everything goes tachas adod. Sai a tahar, whether or not he's b'Medina, whether or not he's in Yerushalayim. Sai a nazir tamei who happens to be there in the Beis Hamikdash. You also put his hair tachas adud. The only nazir whose hair you don't put tachas adud is a nazir who's tamei and he's not there. The Zok Tehel Gemara. Noitel sarosh nisra. Tanu Rabbanan. The achrach noitel saroite. So before he puts his hair under the fire, he takes some gravy out of the pot and he pours it on his hair. So his hair is now a sticky mess. The noise is now saroishnis, right? And then once you have this hair that's mixed with gravy, then and only then do you put it underneath. And we're going to soon see why you do that. I'm sorry? After you cut it, that's right. If you put it under the wrong carbon, yotza, you'll be yotza anyway. In fact, Gemara, I don't understand. Asham benazir tahar miika. A nazir tahar, there's no asham there. Amarava hachikamar. Nazir tamei. If he was a nazir tamei, mishalayach tach zadut shel asham, and he sent it under the dud of asham, yotza, he'll be yotza. Mino hanamili. How do you know that you have to put gravy on the hair before you put the hair under the pot? Amarav amakra. It says asher tachas zevach hashlamim. So we learn tachas zevach. What's under his zevach? The shlamim is under his zevach, meaning there has to be some carbon on top of the shlamim. So therefore, by putting some gravy in the hair, that makes it a carbon, and now the shlamim is going to be sitting on top of his hair that has gravy in it. Why didn't you take a piece of meat? The teretz is because you're not allowed to be ma'abed kochim. You can't burn on the fire directly the meat of the shlamim. You take a little gravy, that will be considered as if it is a carbon, and then you have tachas zevach hashlamim, you have a shlamim underneath the zevach. So therefore we learn mizivchai from the carbon itself, the tachto should be under the carbon. And that's done by putting gravy into the hair that's going to be put underneath the shlamim. My timer, Amakra, zevach. It says zevach. It could have said shlamim. Why does it say zevach hashlamim? It says zevach l'rabish is a chatas v'ashim. In fact, how could you use zevach for that? Didn't you just say v'afikti la zevach meroitiv? Didn't you just use zevach to say that you need roitiv underneath the pot? So tomorrow we can get two drushes out of the zevach. Okay, roitiv. In kain lemakra meroitiv hashlamim. Why did it say zevach? Tachas zevach hashlamim. Shemamina l'rabish chatas v'ashim. So maybe maybe the Holy Limud just tells you that it could be a chatas or a nosham because it says zevach, doesn't say shlomim only. So maybe you don't want anything else. So Gemara no, because okay, lema shlomim v'zevach. My zevach hashlamim. Why did zevach go first? Shemamina tarti. You know two things from here. A is any other carbon that it was put under would also be a proper way to dispose of the hair, and B is that you have to put some of the roitiv on the hair before you put the hair under the pot to be mekayim that it's underneath the zevach underneath the zevach. Taner Rabbanan, hakol hayu mishachem tachas adud. Everyone used to send their hair to be cooked there. Chutz mitamei shegilach b'medina, except for a tamei who shaved his hair off not in the Beis Hamikdash. Mipnei shesayre nikfar. What do we do with his hair? His hair is buried. The Reb Meir, which is the same as the Reb Meir in our Mishnah. Taharim kan vikan hoyu mishachem. Taharim, it doesn't make a difference if they're in the Beis Hamikdash or if they're far away. They manashuk sent their hair. Tameim kan vikan loyu mishachem. And Tameim, even if they're in the Beis Hamikdash, they don't put their hair there. They bury their hair. No one put their hair under the dud. Chutz min tar shabim mikdash mipnei shenasakim mitzvosai, because he followed the rules exactly as they were supposed to be done. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. He was cooking the shlamim or deeply cooking it, and then the kohen takes the arm that's cooked, mino ayil of the ram, which is the shlamim, the chalas matzah achas minasal, and there was a basket in which he had breads. So he takes one chalas matzah, which is a thicker matzah, and then a rokik matzah, one thinner matzah, and he puts these three items of a noisen al kapei al nozer. He puts them on the hands of the nozer, umanifan, and then they make tnufa. And at that point, the achagach huter hanozer lishtei. That's what triggers the heter for the nozer to drink, ulehitame lemesim, and to be able to be metame to mesim. Now let's just see the second to the last line in Toises. The achagach huter hanozer lishtei biyayin l'chayr nira. Taitana Kabbalazar, Dama Begamora, the Oshalushas Yain ad Acher Kol HaMaisim. But we learned that could be after the Geluach alone, he will be able to do all the Surim of Nazir. But Rabbi Eliezer holds that until the full avodah is completed of all his karbonos, he's not allowed to drink wine. Rabbi Shimon Omer, kivan shenizruk olav echad min adamim. Once there was already zrika of one of the damim, already then it's huter and nozer licious behind ulitam elames. Okay, we'll stop here. We're a little early, but it was a very short daf. I'm lost push news today because I know it was a very short daf. Shkoyach.